Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another Pioneer deck tech, and today we're going to be talking about Izzet Otters. I'm very excited to share this very spicy list with you. As always, at the end of the video, let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about the list? Is there a card that I definitely should have included in this deck that I did not? Or do you have suggestions for upcoming videos? Just let me know in the comment section. And real quick before we hop into here, I believe this is the fourth deck tech that we've done featuring cards from Bloomborough. We've done, what was it? We did Orzhov Mice, or not Orzhov Mice, Orzhov Bats, Boros Mice, and then we also did Selesnya Rabbits. So definitely check out those other videos when you're done with this one. So, okay, so Izzet Otters? So, obviously Bloomborough featured a ton of, not even new creatures per se, but a whole bunch of synergies for a bunch of creature types that really didn't have any synergy for the most part. And Izzet Otters is the deck we're going to be talking about today. I would say this deck is like a combination of, Izzet Prowess and, Izzet Phoenix in a way. I would say it's closer to Prowess more than it is Phoenix, but it'll make sense here in a second. But let's go and talk about some of the Otters that we're playing in this deck. So, as our main one drop, we're playing 4 Storm Chasers Talent. So although itself is not an Otter, the chapter, or not chapter 1 because it's a class, but when it enters, you do make a 1/1 blue and red Otter creature token with Prowess. And then obviously you got the chapter 2 there, which is pretty solid, being able to return instant sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. And then the last chapter, not that we're going to be doing that very often, but I mean, whenever you cast an instant sorcery, make a 1/1 Prowess Otter. Again, not that we're going to be doing that very often. The main reason we're playing it is because it is a 1-drop Prowess creature essentially, and what's also nice is it helps trigger our future one. So if we go turn 1 Storm Chasers Talent into another one, it triggers the other one, which is pretty sweet. So definitely a huge fan of that. We're also playing 2 copies of Coruscation Mage. I really do like this card. 2/2 for 2. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent, and then has Offspring 2, which means we can make another one, except it's a 1/1 version of it instead. But definitely a huge fan of it. Also relevant, it does have the Wizard typing, which may or may not be relevant for a future card that we're playing in this deck. We're also playing 4 copies of Stormcatch Mentor. This is my personal favorite card in the deck. Basically just a Goblin Electromancer that also was just really aggressive. 1/1 for 2 haste, prowess, and instant sorceries. You cast cost 1 less to cast. I definitely really like Stormcatch Mentor. Card is pretty sweet. So, alright, let's go and take a look at the rest of the creatures that we're playing in this deck. So, we're also playing 2 Kitsa Otterball Elite. Vigilance Prowess for 2 mana. Tap to draw a card, then discard a card. And then you can tap 2 and tap it to copy a target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Activate only if its power is 3 or greater. So, what we're trying to do, spoiler alert, in this deck, is we're trying to copy, Treasure Cruises, for instance, because it's not going to be that hard to do. Once again, you got the Prowess there. So you can just cast 2 spells, and then we cast our Treasure Cruise, and then we can copy it. That's really what we're trying to do with this card for the most part. But I do like it because, once again, it's an Otter with Prowess. It also is a Wizard, spoiler alert. And then we're also playing 4 Slick Shot Show Off. Although it is not an Otter, it's just really, really good in a deck like this. I mean, if we're playing a whole bunch of instant sorceries that are really cheap, we have to play Slick Shot Show Off. So that's why we're playing a full 4 copies of that as well. And then our main Otter synergy card that we're playing is Pearl of Wisdom, which I love this card. It's a divination at its worst to draw 2 cards, but it costs 1 less to cast if you control an Otter. So essentially it's 2 mana draw 2, but if we have the Stormcatch Mentor in play, it's a 1 mana draw 2, which is pretty sweet. So definitely a huge fan of Pearl of Wisdom. So those are all the creatures that we're playing. Let's go ahead and take a look at all the instants and sorceries that we're playing in this deck to really help power all of our cheap Prowess Otters here and Slick Shot Show Off. So we're playing 4 Opt, 4 Consider, and 4 Treasure Cruise as our main draw spells, which obviously, they're very, very good. Opt and Consider is really, really cheap. Treasure Cruise, we put all these instants and sorceries into our graveyard, so Treasure Cruise is just fantastic, and once again, we're trying to copy it with Kisa, which, I mean, is just sweet. I mean, copying a Treasure Cruise to draw 6 is pretty sweet. Alright, then we're also featuring 4 Fiery Impulse and 4 Wizard's Lightning and 1 Spike Field Hazard. So Wizard's Lightning, again, that's why we're playing all those wizards. We basically get a Lightning Bolt in this deck. Fire Impulse is also really, really good as well. It's essentially a Lightning Bolt to a creature if we have 2 or more instants and sorceries in our graveyard, which guess what? We're playing a lot of instants and sorceries, so we're definitely going to have the spell mastery part of that, no problem. So that's the entire main board already. We're playing a whole bunch of 4-ups, so that's why we kind of just flew through this. But let's go ahead and talk about the lands real quick, which the land base is pretty simple in this deck. We're playing 4 Spirebluff Canal, 4 Steam Vents, and 4 Shivan Reef as our main dual lands in this deck. One thing that's really important with this deck is we need a lot of dual lands, kind of like Izzet Phoenix does, just because we have so many red and blue spells that we need to like be able to cast efficiently. So we're not playing a lot of monocolor lands in this deck. I wanted to mention that. We're playing a ton of dual lands because we're also playing the 4 River Glide Pathway as well. Then we're playing the 1 Ottawara. So, I mean, I'm not playing Sekenzen in this. I'm not playing really any monocolor lands. The only other monocolor lands that we're actually playing is the 1 island and the 1 mountain. That's all we're playing. And as our spicy basic land of the day, I obviously had to include the Bloomburrow Extended Arts. I also really like the island on this one because it has like the little otter paw tracks or whatever right there, which is very flavorful for this deck. So, and obviously we got the mountain there. I believe I featured this mountain before in the lizard deck, but I really do like this mountain. I think it's really cool. So, don't go anywhere yet though. We still have to talk about our sideboard as well as some budget options for the deck, which the sideboard is going to be really simple. We're going to want some extra counter spells, so there's a lot of good options you could play. Personally, I think I'm playing Negate, and I'm also playing Disdainful Stroke, but you could also play Wizard's Retort, just because we are playing a ton of different wizards, so definitely keep that in mind. Also, Anger of the Gods. Yes, we are playing a bunch of small creatures that die to the Anger of the Gods, but honestly, considering like Convoke and other aggro decks, how bad they fold to the Anger of the Gods, we're definitely going to want at least a few copies of that. You're also going to want some Vampire Hate. You could play a combination of like Pithing Needle or even Tears of Valakut, which Tears of Valakut's pretty sweet because it is an instant and sorcery, so it can cost 1 less to cast in our deck, which is pretty cool. You're also going to want some combination of bounce spells. Personally, I would just play Brazen Borrower. I think that's probably the best option you could play. There's also the new one from Bloomburrow where it's like they gift a tapped fish, and if you gift it, it bounces a non-land permanent as opposed to just a creature. But yeah, definitely a lot of fantastic options for bounce spells, but I would recommend Brazen Borrower. And the last thing we have to talk about is the budget options for this deck, which is really simple. Cut the expensive dual lands and play the budget ones. Cut the Steam Vents, cut the Riverglide Pathways, and just play some of the cheaper dual lands, like, I never thought I would say this, the Spirebluff Canals, and the Shivan Reefs. You could also play, what's the name of it? Not Fury Calm Snarl, but you could play the Blue-Red Snarl, for instance. There's a whole bunch of good budget dual lands you could play in this deck. You could also swap a few of the pricier sideboard cards, especially like Brazen Borrower, just because it is, I mean, they're like $5-6 a piece, which is, it's not cheap, but that's not like crazy expensive, but it definitely helps cut costs for sure. But the current list, as it's constructed right now, is only $240, which is incredibly cheap for a Pioneer deck. In the budget list, I was able to get it down to $90. I believe the most expensive card in the budget version is the not the Stormcatch Mentor. It's the, I always forget the name of the cards after I say them. It's the enchantment class, that makes the 1/1 Prowess Otter. I believe that's the most expensive card in the budget list. I want to say they go for about $3 a piece. But other than that, this deck is incredibly cheap when you take out all of the pricier dual lands. So I really do like this Izzet Otters deck. I think it's, I don't want to say one of the spicier decks I've done so far, but I think this deck has a lot of synergy and honestly could be pretty good. So if you're looking to play, if you like Izzet Phoenix but want to play something different, or you just want to build, a really sweet Izzet deck, or if you just really like Otters and you want to play Otters and Pioneer, this is definitely the perfect list for you to play at your local FNM or with friends. So that takes us to the end of the video here. Thanks so much for watching. The deck lists are in the description below if you'd like to check it out. We obviously have the regular list and the budget list, so you can check out exactly what I'm playing in the sideboard. Huge shout out to our channel members, Ralph, Matt, Arcadius, Ray, Gary, and Sarwanoki. If you were interested in being a channel member, it's only $1 a month. You get access to the exclusive Discord as well as other features here on the channel. So I'm Commander Crane. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.